the UK High Commission is telling Sunday Igboho, they say drop your agitation so that there can be peace again in Nigeria and in the southwest. You see what's happening in Kwara, you know, in Ondo State and other part of the southwest. They say drop this agitation so that peace can be in the southwest again. Just like the way they told Nnamdi Kanu. They told Nnamdi Kanu to drop the agitation so that they can be peace again in the southeast and so that it can finally be released. But Nnamdi Kanu said no, BIAFRA or nothing. But Sunday Igboho, I think he has finally succumbed to what the UK and the Nigerian government are putting pressure on him to drop the agitation. What's your take as regards Sunday Igboho finally dropping the agitation for one Nigeria?
Thank you very much for having me. I will tell you that what UK is doing in Nigeria is surprising because these are people the same people who tell you that democracy is the best way to go and that people should always be allowed to determine their destiny. But these are the same people that amalgamated Nigeria without the consent of Nigerians themselves. I cannot just forget in a hurry how even after Sunday Igboho went to the United Kingdom to submit a letter to the office of the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom about Oduduwa Nation. The British High Commission here in Nigeria wrote to tell Sunday Igboho, drop the agitation, join her with other Nigerians to move Nigeria forward. These same people, when they needed to exit the European Union, nobody told them to drop the idea to join her with other member European Union countries to move European Union forward. However, they succeeded in exiting the European Union. I think what happened in their case was that the majority had their way, the minority had their say. And I think that would have happened in Nigeria if you allow the right thing to be done. Nobody is saying the government cannot canvass opinion against maybe self-determination, but when it comes to voting proper in the process of that self-determination, I think when the people who say they want to go outnumber those who say they want to stay, automatically it means censorship are taking place. So even if Sunday Igboho have decided to drop his agitation on the maybe admonition of the United Kingdom, maybe the High Commission here in Nigeria, I have to tell you that somebody that Nnamdi Kanu has become resilient and become a symbol of when it comes to struggle for liberation. Because whether we like it or not, even in the face of his incarceration, we have seen activities moving forward, even with the speed of light, geared towards actualization of Biafra. Not forget that we have seen, even in diaspora, one of course, a former American ambassador, talking about Sam Donbach, who came out openly, clearly, most recently, to say, divide the country for peace to reign. We have seen somebody like, of course, a former mayor in the United States of America, who is always very clear on his own issue. Let the people part ways. Because for what we are seeing, there's nothing wrong in people going their separate ways. So long as it's done within the ambits of the law. So long as there's no wanton destruction of lives and properties of the people. But whether I like it or not, you have a self-determination constitutionally. Talking about a UN charter that talks about self-determination, talking about, of course, African charter that talks about self-determination, and the Nigerian government is already a signatory to these two UN charters. So to that extent, it's already a law in Nigerian legal jurisprudence. So once somebody has not destroyed lives and properties of anybody and is coming through this through self-determination, I want to say that the person has not done anything wrong. Come to think of it, by providence, God never created Nigeria as one. If you look at the way God created Nigeria, the Igbos, He created them as different people. The Hausas, He created them as different people. The Yorubas, He created them as different people. Even the Fulanis, we are created as different people, judging by a divine factor of language. Language is a divine factor that naturally comes to a people without their decision. You don't decide what should be your language. It's by providence that God gives you language. So if God in His wisdom gave the Igbos, the Hausas, the Yorubas, the Fulanis, even other ethnic minorities, they are different languages. It means that God created them a different people. So if they needed to come together, it ought to be through unanimous agreement, not through the correction of currently. If you remember that recently, Jonathan went to dig out the truth about the position of our founding fathers. Nnamdi, how they, in their different assertions in the past, disagree with the unity of Nigeria, and asserted that Britain forced this entity called Nigeria on Nigerians. I tell you that currently, a situation where you have the Fulanis, who are the last to come into this part of the world, and currently there are about 15 million people. They are the one lording it over everybody. If you go to Wikipedia will tell you that the Fulanis are about 15 million people. The Hausas are about 60 million people. The Yorubas are about 50 million people. The Igbos are about 45 million people. Yet, the same people who are in minority are subjugating, even they are totally subjugating the North. The only thing they have not been able to do is to extend that subjugation to the southern part of the country.
I don't think the UK were smart when they handed over power to the Fulanis. Do you think
They knew what they were doing. And that is why they always stand on the side of even those Fulani when they say they want one Nigeria. After we chanting one Nigeria in the face of the wanton destruction of lives and properties of innocent citizens. After we chanting one Nigeria in the face of what is happening currently, a social where life has become meaningless, there is no value, life in Nigeria has no value. For me, the right thing to do is to bring everybody to a roundtable conversation. Let us discuss, is there any need to continue being together? If there is no need, there is no crime parting ways. So far it's done within the ambit of the law. Nobody is shooting anybody, nobody is killing anybody. So it beats all imagination why some people should stand against it. Where at the same UK that is pressing on Nigerians that we should stay as one, at the same UK that insisted European Union in the very eyes of everybody. So for me, there's every need to do the needful. And even the Jonathan under his administration started confab. Of course, he don't confab, where they brought all interest groups on board and they deliberated on the way forward. But unfortunately, his government did not stay long in office after that confab to assist in the implementation of the result of that confab. Those people have argued that he played politics with that confab because he waited until the twilight of his administration, at the last point of his administration, before coming up with that, of course, proposal or rather confab. But the question is, the government of the day must look in that direction. You can say you are not interested in that confab, but come up with a national discourse. You may call it some national conference, you may call it a national discourse, whatever name it go by, but let us have a forum where we discuss the unity of Nigeria. Because you cannot continue forcing one Nigeria on Nigerians when things are not working. And each time you talk, the North will tell you that go to National Assembly. This National Assembly, they have gotten undue advantage to themselves. How can you explain a situation where only Kanu State is having 44 local governments? Jigawa that is carved out of Kanu State is having 27 local governments. If you put that together, I'm talking about 77 local governments. Whereas the place that Delta that produce oil is having just 25. The place that Lagos State that have abundance of both human and natural resources is having just about 20 local governments. The place that River State that has abundance of oil is having about 23 local governments, though just 18. You can imagine. So if revenue were to be shared according to the local government, as often is the case, you begin to wonder that some places that do not even contribute anything to the Nigerian coffers even get more than places where you take all of this. So for me, it is not encouraging. There's every need for us to go back to the drawing board to address the root cause of all this imbalance so that we can start seeing fairness, equity, and justice.
But do you not think that if a referendum is conducted in the three major ethnic part of Nigeria, that if the Hausa, Yoruba, and the Igbo conduct a referendum, of which everybody is saying the Igbo have conducted their own referendum and they've choose to pull out from Nigeria, do you think, we know that Yoruba Tinubu is in power, the currency security, the economy issue in Nigeria, do you think that if a referendum conducted in the southwest, that the Yorubas too, they want to pull out from Nigeria?
In all honesty, I believe that Sunday Igboho was genuine to a large extent. Because we all saw how he rose to prominence. Under Muhammadu Buhari, it was clear. Even we saw how he gave a quick order to Sarki of Uganda in Oyo State when the Buhari's government refused to address insecurity in that part of the country. We saw how he was moving from place to place, galvanizing support for the Dual Republic, until he went to the United Kingdom, where the UK High Commission here in Nigeria asked him to drop the administration and join hands with other Nigerians to move Nigeria forward. I think maybe he has decided to throw that admonition because we currently see him in APC cap, of course, drumming support for the re-election of Senator Nnamdi as the president of Nigeria. But politically speaking, ab initio, I saw him as somebody who was serious with the agitation. However, I still have my respect for him, but I'm not comfortable with his present trajectory, where he's dropping the agitation and collapsing the struggle into the Tinubu government.
Okay, but finally, with what is currently happening in Nigeria, we've seen Donald Trump. You know, a lot of people are saying even the US are not sure that as regards the current unity as regards Nigeria. As we've seen that that the US embassy have currently been shut down by the United States government. But with that being said, the US government, with them now shutting down the embassy in Nigeria, do you not think Tinubu should be careful as regards what is currently happening in Nigeria? Do you think Tinubu will be re-elected as regards what is happening? Because the US now, they might want to have a say in the next election come 2027.
As for that, there are so many angles to it. Number one, it shows that America have no guarantee that the safety of their citizens who are in Nigeria can be sustained. That's on one hand. Secondly, do not forget that even as we speak, the man Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who is from ADC, African Democratic Congress, already hired a lobbying firm in America for $1.2 million to work in favor of his party and his ambition. And as we speak, that same lobbying firm have recently indicated interest that they want to report Tinubu's government to Trump, sequel to this issue involving where INEC has come out to say that recognizing ADC led by the Bibank and Arefo as the national chairman and national secretary of their party, respectively. So there's so many angles to it. There's no doubt Trump can wake up one day and make a tweet that will unsettle the Nigerian political landscape, just like we saw recently where he tweeted about the Nigerian security situation. So there's no doubt about that. And talking about the security situation, do not forget that even yesterday or so, there was a situation where a military base was overrun by bandits, terrorists. Just like what happened in military base recently. And it speaks to the fact that even the military that are supposed to be protecting me and you are now becoming vulnerable to be attacked, even killed by the same bandits. You now begin to ask, where is the hope of the common man? If the military who are meant to protect lives and properties are now becoming vulnerable to be attacked, to be fired, now it means our safety is not guaranteed. We can only look to God for our security.